Boxing King Media, powered by the Riyadh Season and BYD. All-time boxing legendary reporter himself, Mr. MBE Jeff Powell of the Daily Mail. Jeff, pleasure as always back in Riyadh again.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. How you've experienced so much in boxing, Jeff. Like we're talking from Muhammad Ali to the Fury Usyk fight to another undisputed fight. For the hardcore fans, obviously who understand this, they know how big this is, but just try and explain to the casual fans out there, how big is this fight?
It's two of the best boxers in the world. We throw in Usyk as well, is another one. It's two undefeated fighters fighting to reignite the divisions below heavyweight. Heavyweight boxers been carrying the freight with Fury and Usyk and Wilder and Joshua, but this is a fight. It's a throwback to the days of the Four Kings, Hagler, Leonard, Hearns and Duran, which was epic fights in the 80s. They all fought each other, and the best of the rest over a decade, without fear or favour, without trying to protect their records. And they brought on a golden era in boxing, which, as it came to bring it out of a lull following the early heavyweight era. And this fight is important because it can bring something classical, we hope, to the more middling weights of the division. So it's a big fight, and hopefully it is something that reignites that spirit of the 80s and the Four Kings.
You know, when people were speaking about the Fury Usyk fight, a lot of comparisons were made with the past legends of the heavyweight division, saying, you know, he wouldn't survive in that era, etc., etc. Just to put a bit of context on it, if we go back to the great light heavyweight eras, would Beterbiev and Bivol survive in them?
Oh yeah, I think so. The light heavyweight eras, yes. These are two excellent fighters, and it's a great clash of styles as well, because you have the boxer in Bivol and the puncher, the knockout artist in Beterbiev. But that is slightly complicated by the fact that because Beterbiev has got 20 knockouts in 20 fights and is a manifestly powerful puncher, but he's actually a very good boxer as well. It's not really a purist boxer who can't punch against a slugger who can't box. This is a battle between two fundamentally different styles, but one of them at least can do quite a lot of what the other one can.
Who are you picking in this fight right now?
It's normally, when you look at who wins out of a big hitter, a big puncher, and a very, very good classical boxer, with high technique, there's a tendency to go for the boxer, and that he'll get through it. But bearing in mind, as we've just said, that Beterbiev can box as well. At the moment, without having seen them up close as yet over here, but I'm veering towards Arthur.
It's interesting. I spoke to Gareth A. Davis a bit, and he said Bivol on points are what he's going for. So it was good to see what you journalists, proper journalists, think. What do you make of Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley rematching straight away? Because there was some talk that they should avoid each other for a bit, because the effects on their body that they're going to have from fighting each other again is too much at that age. But obviously, from your generation, when you was watching fights, Ali was fighting every other month, so at the top, they were all fighting every other month. So does it really make a difference?
There is a kind of a mantra in boxing that the immediate rematch might not be good for the loser, but it's often hasn't proved the case. I mean, Joshua got stopped by Andy Ruiz Jr. and he came back, took on a different strategy and won an immediate rematch. He went for an immediate rematch with Usyk, and that didn't work out so well. So there's nothing absolutely hard and fast about it. But it was a pretty good, punishing fight. If you don't fight quite quickly, they're not yet great established names, and they might lose the moment. They do another eye-catching, wonderful fight. Possibly, if the result was to go a separate way, you'd be looking at a third, and they'd become more planted in the imagination of the boxing public. It's not like it's world championship stuff. there were gaps between, Ali and Frazier for various reasons between their 3 fights, and so on. So if you're cock of the walk, you don't necessarily have to do an immediate rematch. They might as well do it, frankly.
Who wins?
Frazier.
Interesting that. And then Chris Eubank Jr. fighting a relatively unknown guy just to get back into the swing of things. So your opinion on all that, and how do you think that will end?
Chris's choice of how to pursue his career is interesting. He has succeeded in banking quite a lot of money, and being that this is in Riyadh season with His Excellency's funding, he's probably getting the best purse of his career, which will make him even richer. Why I wonder why he was so angry with the main British promoters. They're party to him getting a very nice payday. But having said that, does he really have ambition to win titles? I think he has ambition to fight people with good names, but not good enough to beat him. And I think this time he's fighting someone without an established name, and he should be good enough to beat him.
What do you make of Chris just as a person, as a personality?
Well, he's interesting. I mean, in many ways, although he's distanced himself from his father, he's very much his father's son. He's quirky, he thinks outside the box. He's an interesting guy to talk to. He's intelligent from a left field way. He's not a conformist. He's quite interesting to be around. So good luck to him in all he does, but he should have been getting after titles sooner.
And I've got to ask you, you will have seen the interview that Tyson Fury did the other day where he talked about, that the AJ fight will happen no matter what, whether they're 50 years old, and even if AJ loses the next 10 fights, it's still got to happen. Do you think that will happen next, no matter what happens in the Fury-Usyk fight?
No, I'm not sure it will happen next. I think it will happen next year. And even if Tyson loses to Usyk again, which there's quite a danger of, they would be able, I think, to get Fury and Joshua on again for the first time, the long-awaited fight. I think His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is interested in that fight, whatever happens. The only question might be where it takes place. Would it be a part of Riyadh season in Riyadh, or would they calculate, and I think perhaps correctly, that if it's no later than next year, that they could refill Wembley again. They could fill Wembley, get a huge audience in Britain, but then perhaps have to tailor the budget a little, because I don't think there'd be any interest in it in the United States, where the big pay-per-view market is. But then AJ took a significantly lower purse for his fight against Dubois than he'd been getting here in the world title fight with Usyk, for example. But still, another 5 to 10 million worth having. I'd have still come here if they gave me 5 to 10 million.
What do you make of, because there was calls for people saying that AJ shouldn't fight again, and again, you can probably understand this better than anyone. You will have seen people like Ali, Foreman, Frazier losing and carrying on at beyond 30 years old. Are people right for saying that? Bainman AJ lives a completely clean lifestyle, so physically we know he doesn't blow up in weight or all that kind of stuff. So is he right for carrying on, and what do you make of the people that are saying that he should pack it in?
Well, I suggested in my own report of the fight that this would be an appropriate time for him to decide to stop. Not necessarily because he physically needs to. He can get through some more fights, perhaps without too much damage. But there is sign of diminishing punch resistance in the Dubois fight. Dubois is a massive puncher, but even so, I'm sure he wasn't expecting to go down 4 times. But my feeling was, here we're at Wembley, record gate, arguably, apparently a record gate, but let's hope it was, in a big dramatic fight, in which, although he lost, and surprisingly so, to a younger fighter who's now in the head of the queue of the next generation, although he lost, he did so on his shield. He went out on his shield with valor, quite heroically, to huge applause. He didn't go out to roaring cheers, but he went out of the stadium to respectful applause from all the British people who have supported him down the years. And my logic was, he may or may not have read in the paper, was that if he fights Dubois again immediately, which is a possibility for the new year, if that happens again, he'll go out with his tail between his legs rather than in a blaze of gallant glory.
Interesting. Last question I've got for you, Jeff, is I'm just curious. It's all right. Do you want to take it? It's all right. Just one last question for you, Jeff. Just give us a brief answer. I want fans to try and understand how big this fight is. And you've been in some historic fights where you've been at Fight Week, where Ali's fighting, and loads of other legends, Lennox Lewis, whatever. Could you kind of maybe compare this to something in the yesteryear that you went to Fight Week and you felt the same sort of energy?
In terms of fascination and big occasion, not fully expected by the public. The biggest upset of all, Mike Tyson, James Buster Douglas in Tokyo.